Good morning, everyone. Oh, I can't stand when you start to jump onto Facebook and then you get distracted. You get distracted by like somebody's story and you're like, oh, look at that. Wait, I have a few minutes. I could get this in before we go live. So I apologize for that. Good morning, everyone. Look at in the house, Arlene and Darlene Kelly, first ones to pop up, and Milagros and Tiffany Bryan.
Good morning, ladies.
It's fabulous. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. It is Thursday, November 17th. 1 week from today is Thanksgiving. Could you believe this? This is absolutely crazy.
It's funny because I'm doing something yesterday and I look over at my niece and I'm like, Thanksgiving's in a week? She's like, yeah, that's what I've been telling you all day. And I'm like, oh my God. It's too fast for me.
Yep.
Like the end of this year is going to pop up like slut magic, and it's going to take your breath away, whether in a gasperation of, oh my God, I didn't finish what I started, or an exhilaration that you did end the year the way you wanted to. So remember, you still have time and the choice is only yours.
And it will go fast because it always does. Between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, it is the fastest 4 weeks. And it's actually really 4.5 weeks. It's the fastest 4.5 weeks because we get into this whirlwind where we start distracting ourselves with holidays and celebrations. And that's why we did what we did in September to really jumpstart you. So go back to the September challenges that we did, and even the October, and really ground yourself, because this is going fast. The next thing you know, it's the new year and the people are scrambling going, I want my New Year's resolutions and blah, blah, blah. And so you want to make sure that, you're on track and that you're not going to do the same thing, the same thing over and over again. But we're going to do something real special in December, though. We're going to help prep you even more for the new year. So please don't forget to share. Let everybody know that you are on so that they can come on, invite people. Don't hesitate to even actually invite people to come on. We would love to have new people come on and experience Viva Cafe con Leche. And we can't do this without your help. So thank you so much.
And with that, we would say good morning, Iritza.
Good morning, Iritza. Good morning, Gladiator Guru. I love the behind you. It is fabulous.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
It sure is.
My niece told me not to do that, knowing that I don't give a shit, because I know that I'm tone deaf and I still love it, and I will continue to do so. Everywhere I go.
You're not as bad as you think. I don't know why you say that. Why do you say that all the time? But I don't think you're as bad as you think you are.
My family all swear, and I have been convinced. So yes, good morning, Badass Buddha. It's time waits for no one. It is not our enemy, nor is it our friend. And by time, I mean from sunrise to sundown. I think the days are shorter, the moments are quicker. And the only thing we leave behind is a legacy. People want to leave inheritance for children who, for their loved ones behind. And that, that comes and goes. That's like the toilet paper wiping your ass. You're going to always need something. You're going to always want something. So I was telling someone the other day, it's a legacy that we must leave. Whether you write it in a book, you become an author, you become a one of many authors with other women who are also planting seeds of wisdom and leaving legacies, which is story. Remember, from the beginning of time, we know the majority of what we know through storytelling from generation to generation till somebody finally wrote a book about it. So be that. Unfortunately, I'm employed right now, and I listen to people and they'll talk about family, but then they say, well, I love money. And then they're at work, filling in for all these double shifts. So I was asked, do you want to? You should check on the thing. And I said, for what? They're like, make money. And I said, you know what? I prefer to make memories. So I'm not going to overwork myself for a couple extra $100 in my check that I'm going to get taxed on anyway. I'm not going to see the full fruits of my labor. So all I'm saying is, remember, memories will last you until your last breath, but it will carry on in the hearts of those who stay behind. Legacies. And that's my tidbit of the day. Balance out what life means to you and then choose to live it well. And with that, we will set our intentions. I see our beautiful guests are in.
I know our guests are in the green room, so we're going to have them on. And so let's set our intention and let's do our mantra. So again, good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. All right. So let's say it. Let's set our intention. Every day we set our intention on Viva. And while it sounds cheesy to just keep it so generic, intentions are specific to you. The bottom line is we just want you to set one. So close your eyes for a second and just think about something that you want today that you would like to happen or that you would like to do or accomplish, and set that intention. It could be something you want to do. It could be something you want to have. It could be just how you feel, but set that intention and know that whatever intention you set for today, like you could say, I just want to have an absolutely fabulous day today. Set that intention, put it into motion, think it in your head, say it out loud and feel it. And know that you can always reset your intention during the day if it changes or shifts, or maybe it's not working out exactly the way you wanted it. And maybe you just need to redo it. So just know that any intention, just being intentional. Thank you, Carmen, any of us. But being intentional is just important. So set your intention for whatever that may be today. And the other
part. Do it with grace. Do it with the feelings of gratitude that you were able to form a thought to set into an intention. See, every step we take is every step we make closer to what our purpose is, where we need to be. Remember, half the shit we own, we don't need. We wanted it. Now they're collecting dust. Irma Bombeck, when she wrote, if I had my life to live over, I would have burned that heart-shaped candle instead of saving it and having it melt with the heat in the attic. Don't be that, because many of us don't have that time to live over. So live intentionally and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. You got one life to live. Live it well, because it is the shortest yet the longest that you will live. So let's live it well. And you're right, Iris, it isn't. Legacies are about stories. Stories are about what you're willing to share. Sharing means that you have acknowledged and accepted who you are, what you went through, all the mistakes you made, and you're not ashamed of yourself. So you are going to put it out there to be that umbrella of hope for people who hide in the shadows because of shame and guilt and whatever. So be that legacy. Contact the Badass Buddha.
Yeah, absolutely. We are actively looking for authors for her Badass Story Volume 3, which is going to release February 27th. So if you know anyone that is, wanting to share their story, just I'll put the link in there and you can share it with them. Or if you want to be that person, that would be fabulous. We are looking till, I think we're going to close out the application process November 27th. We might be able to sneak in 3 more days to get to the end of November. But the primary reason we want to end at November is so that the writers or the authors have the whole month of December, which will be a busy month, but they have the month of December to write their story, because in January is when we need to edit it. So and in order for us to hit that February 27th release date. So we already have, we signed up somebody yesterday. We signed up somebody I spoke to somebody yesterday, and they're going to be signing up this week. And then so we already have about 6 women that are in the process of signing up. That includes the 4 that have already signed up. And we want to hit about 15 to 20. Once we hit our mark, and we might actually stop at 15, we might not even go up to 20 purposefully. But if we hit 15 before the 27th, we might actually just close it off. I mean, it depends, because we want to get this going. So just think about it. We'll put that link in there, and we would love to have you on. It's a very, very cool camaraderie that happens with the women that come on. And this one especially is going to be even more. There's going to be a lot more cohesiveness, because there's going to be a lot more get-togethers as far as online, because everybody's all over the place. But I'm going to put it out this way. We are especially looking for women of color. The beauty about this book is that the stories are not just diverse, but the women themselves are diverse, and we want women from all different backgrounds so that other women can relate. So, we're looking for women of color, women that have just owned up to themselves, becoming unapologetically the badass in their own lives. And so again, if you know anyone, please, we just ask that you share the link so that they can decide for themselves if this is the right opportunity for them.
Well, it is a phenomenal. And again, the shame and the guilt, and don't air your dirty laundry as a Puerto Rican Italian. That's what we were taught when we were growing up. Of course, I'm the black sheep everywhere I go, and I'm so damn proud of that. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of your story. Share it with the world, because I'm going to share one thing before we get into the show today. When I talk about leaving a legacy, I can't even explain the joy that I feel. And those who know me know that I'm very fluent in 3 languages. They know it. And I speak here, I speak there, but then when I'm angry, I speak all 3 of them at the same time. It's English, Spanish, and profanity. I speak them well, and I don't give a shit where I'm standing when I'm speaking my tongues. And my grandchildren love the shit out of me. And I'll go over there, and my 20 and my 16-year-old, and they'll be on the phone. They're like, "Oh, you got to come over. My grandma's here, the one I told you about." Then I'll go into my 16-year-old bedroom, and he has, those shelves that they put their sneakers on. And to walk in there and notice that he has 6 of the books that I have authored, and he has them on his shelf. And he has my first 3 that I published, the 2 compilations with Lori, and my journal that I have printed, and I've allowed both of them to fill it out and give me the input from their age groups. And he has them all on his shelf. And if there's no better legacy than to walk in and see your teenage grandchild having a bookshelf dedicated to his crazy grandma, let me tell you, I'll write until I cannot write anymore. And I don't need them to be published. I just tell my stories because they live on in my children and in my grandchildren. And that's what you got to look at it. That's how you look about why do I want to be a part of anything in this world? Well, leave your mark, write a story. Your grandkids will grow up, and they will always carry you. There's always something tangible aside from the memories they carry in their heart. Yes. So there you go. Mantra time, because I keep waiting for women to come up.
Say it loud, say it proud, ladies. Here we go. And the men that watch. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I am beyond authentic.
And I keep it real. Bring it.
All right. Woo! All right. I loved what, thanks, Milagros, Unique Experience Pacific, the book, Hum Women's, great, wonderful. Thank you.
Milagro is phenomenal. Milagro is phenomenal. We'll talk about Milagros in a minute.
Why? We could just talk about her now. Milagros. What I love about Milagros is truly the definition of the badass story women.
She is a woman who walks and takes her own steps.
Unapologetically herself.
I love that about her.
Yes.
I love it that she doesn't give a shit.
That's right. Ooh.
She wears on, she chooses not to wear makeup. She shows up into a room, she makes her presence known. She is presently there but absent in being vocal. She's very much the observer and participates in Milagros. Te quiero mucho, mi amor.
Wonderful. All right. So let's have our guests. So let's introduce our fabulous guests. Therapists Jane and Joan. Boy, these two are fabulous. So we just a reminder that we are in the midst. November is National Gratitude Month and National Inspirational Role Model Month, where we have been pushing and playing with all of you to inspiring all of you to be more grateful, to go every day. And we have that our 30-day gratitude challenge. We're talking about inspirational role models. These two ladies are fabulous because they decided that they were going to take all their experiences, and because of their life experiences, not just in their personal lives, but in their work lives, it became almost comedic, and they actually are comedians. You know, they've actually transitioned into that type of environment. So they're what we love about them is the fact that they are therapists, and a lot of therapists, well, not a lot, we don't want to categorize, but there are therapists out there that have to maintain a specific type of way about them. I sort of understand it sometimes I don't, but I guess they just don't want to lose the respect of their patients or clients. But we know that being authentic and being real, you're going to attract the people that are meant to come to you, and that will probably make the most changes in their lives because they connected with you. So as former licensed therapists, they were tired of the ongoing stigma of mental illness. They decided to come out with their own diagnosis with tips on how to get better. They have an ADHD friendly book, Under the Hood, where they tell stories of traumatic past, often with comedy, in order to normalize reactions to trauma and to bring the response back to the community so that that we can all live. So they are dispelling that uncomfortableness about mental health and bringing humor into it, which sometimes, God forbid, we bring humor into anything that has to do with mental health, and really just stepping into who they are. And again, great representations of just owning who they are. So without further ado, the therapy twins, Jane and Joan.
Look at that. It's a delayed response.
Hello.
We just woke up.
Well,
Good morning.
fabulous ladies for just waking up.
Thank you. Well, don't take your makeup off from the night before and then the next day it looks natural.
Yeah,
You're ready. You're ready. On and popping. Yes.
That's great. See, that's tip number one already. Don't take your makeup off. See,
Yes.
we're always told to take our makeup off, but now
Yeah.
you're saying no. Okay.
And you know what's interesting about that? Almost our whole lives, Joan usually would wash her face at night and then put another thing like moisturizer on. And I took after our mom. We never wash our face at night. So we understood that you're supposed to, but I guess I'm the lazy twin.
No, she didn't get pimples. I used to get pimples. Those two bitches had clear skin, so I had to do that.
There was a motivation behind there that she wanted better skin. You're right, I didn't. I could put, diesel fuel on my face and I wouldn't get a acne or anything. Yes. Identical twins, same DNA, but a few different
skin.
Apparently.
Yes. So ladies, how long have you been therapists?
Jane, go ahead. You go first all the time.
You know what? I know I worked about
2005.
I worked 38
so 2000
years.
for her.
Yeah, 38 years, about half as a registered nurse, about half as a therapist. And so happy to be retired. Very, very, very happy, because now I get to spend more than, say, 10 minutes a day doing the things that I really want to do.
Like applying makeup.
Or maybe I'll start washing my face at night. It sounds like a wonderful thing.
You never know, right?
Yes.
Shit happens when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. You know what? When something
When
you
you have
guys
to
were
duck.
talking about,
The duck.
I spent too many years in my younger years. I spent too much time waiting for the perfect guy, which is funny that I put those words together, perfect guy. But you know, I'd say the same thing if I said woman, right? And I didn't have the good china out, and I wasn't putting the better lipstick or whatever I wasn't taking my bubble bath. So when you think about what you put out is what you attract. Look at, even when the guy would come around, sorry, all my ex-boyfriends, I love all of you, but even when the guy would come around, maybe they wouldn't meet your expectations because you had this fantasy going on that, oh, when they come around, then I'm going to do all these wonderful things. So yes, tip number 2 is start now. Be what it is that you want.
I like that.
Yeah.
What triggered what pushed the both of you into the idea that like the way we think about mental health and the way and even did that your idea of like kind of getting rid of that stigma and taking a different perspective towards it, did that start within your practice as therapists? Like, did you start doing things differently with your patients and clients?
Well, at first, see, going back to 1982 and 84, things were different. And I even went as a psychiatric nurse in 84. I even went to Vermont on a ski trip with, 10 or 15 inpatients, long-term inpatient, with other staff as well. And there was just a different way of handling things. You got to hug. I remember there were dances because, people lived there for a long time. And then all of a sudden, whenever the business model took over, you couldn't touch a patient. And people don't realize that with trauma, the human touch is helpful. So anyway, within our practice
in general. Human touch is necessary, period. Yeah.
Right. But within our practice, at that point, when we were self-employed, we got to bring that back. So not that we were dancing in the office at all. But at one point, we hired a family member, which you have to always give like a W-9 or something. Be very legal with that because we got caught out on that one hard. And she had to leave. But at one point, she said, she knocked on the door and she said, there is too much laughing going on behind this door. And she felt it should be more serious. But, some people you cry with, well, maybe I don't cry with them. I'm so sorry. I have empathy, but I'll cry over my own stuff. But, at times when there's humor is healing as well. And people forget that and they think it might be inappropriate. And it would be if you're laughing at somebody, but if you're laughing with them or at yourself, you get to do that.
And one of the things I noticed that bugged me a little bit, so as an RN working in psychiatry, what I saw over the years is the inpatient stay would get shorter and shorter. And that, there was no human touch. There was a lot of, like, nowadays, everything's the computer, right? And then the occupational therapy stuff kept getting cut. What the things Joan was talking about is helping people learn how to live. And then, they cut music therapy, they cut pet therapy, all the things that worked. And then
art therapy.
As a therapist, but as someone that had received my own therapy, one of the things I chuckle to myself about is when I think back on 3 years of every single week whining about whatever I was whining about that week. A lot in the past, it's and there's a time for all of that, right? There's definitely a time, but there's a time to stop, stand up, and start living as well. But one of the things I think about is my memory of my 3 whole years, every single week. All I can remember from Dr. So-and-so was the times he made me laugh. And then as we moved from, and I was the dull twin, the boring twin, I could vent for 10 years if you would let me. The old Jane, it would vent for 30 years actually about how everyone did me wrong, and never live and never work on that wonderful thing called compassion, tolerance and forgiveness.
You almost forgot.
I forgot the tolerance because I'm living with my twin right now, you know, and somebody asked, how did we become so tolerant? I think. And as Joan says, we got a crash course when we didn't plan for retirement, and now we are roomies.
Yep.
But yeah, all I can remember are my laughing moments. And isn't that lovely and interesting at the same time?
That is. That is. Do you, so in your transition of like coming to that conclusion and saying, you know, we just want to make, like, not make fun of it. We want to like add the humor to this. And because we titled this, right? We titled today's show, Calm the Fuck Down, Life Advice from Real Therapists Being Real. I think that's part of the challenge too. Anybody who's ever had therapy before, I've had therapists. I've had 2 therapists in my life. I've had my middle daughter has had, she's gone through 3 therapists. And the thing that always didn't sit well with me was the fact that they always had like a stick up their ass. They always kind of just were very serious. And it didn't bode well for me. Although my last therapist, it was short-lived, but he was good. I appreciated what he had to offer. But my daughter, she just couldn't connect. Like, she just felt uncomfortable. And so what advice would you give? Because we are stressed. Like, there's no question. We are a very fucked up society. We are out of control. We're miserable. We don't want to take accountability. There's like so many pieces here, but we are definitely stressed. Anxiety levels are elevated. They were elevated before COVID, then they're elevated after the whole the shelter in place kind of deal. And they've never really returned. We see suicide levels elevated. So what life advice can you give to our tribe, and then they can forward on to even the people in their lives when we're talking about calm the fuck down? Like, calm the fuck down. Like, what real life advice would you say that you have come to the conclusion of in the last few years, and what can you offer to them?
Okay, so I'm the younger twin, and anxiety, I was born with it. Apparently it just like flew right back before my soul even got in there. Anxiety, like, okay, I guess nowadays I've heard people call it, oh, I have crippling anxiety. And I'm thinking, oh, is that the one where you can't drive anymore? You know, you can't go out. You know, I get it. You can't speak. I was even stuttering for a while. So I'm that twin. But what I want to say is, unfortunately, today, I feel that there is a little bit more legitimate, I'm going to change that word in a minute, reasons to worry.
There are different reasons to worry, and some of them are very life-threatening.
I feel terrible. But as a therapist and even as a patient myself, what you want to do, this is the biggest lesson. Just say that thing that you're afraid of out loud, and then think to yourself, is this really something that I need to be afraid of? Because some of it's not even real. Some of it, I'm already going from A to Z. I'm Z negative. I'm not even in the alphabet. So yeah, so
that doesn't even exist anymore at this point.
I think that's the biggest. And then if it is real, ask for help. There are so many people out there that are willing and they're just sitting there waiting to help. And we don't think we want their help because we don't like their advice. But, you know, during times of stress, get somebody else's advice. That was my advice.
Absolutely. You know, when you got to face your fears and take your power back. We are not helpless unless we deem ourselves helpless by giving in to either the worst case scenario in your mind, or things from the outside that are tangible that you can grab and choke the shit out of it and throw it to the side and march on. And I say that in that terms because sometimes people, they want to tiptoe around shit. And I'm like, wake the fuck up, handle your business. And like you said, if you can't do it, ask for help. If you really want the change. I love that. Go ahead, ladies. Keep on.
You know, one of the things that happened to myself, I'll just speak for myself because it took me so long to get on my path to feeling better and alive. when I needed advice and thought, okay, I'm going to get advice, I always thought I had to go to the most intelligent person, especially if they had been through what I've been through. And one of the things I chuckle at is, don't underestimate life's wisdom. A life that has been lived has collected so much wisdom. So one time I thought, why would I go? Somebody suggested asking your mother. And I thought, my mother? Why would I ask my mother about boys and sex and, you know, players and the good guy, when my mother slept with one man? And the person laughed at me.
Well, that's what mommy said, you know. Okay.
Oh, but yeah, Joan has a funny story about her mother.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But, you know, and come to find out, just being a beautiful, wise old woman living gracefully, she observed an awful lot and she heard an awful lot. And so
she had a lot of good advice.
Don't underestimate. I mean, you could talk to the person in New Jersey pumping your gas for you, because we just drove through New Jersey and I went to get my own gas and I said, really, that law still is in place. They pump it for you. So don't underestimate.
That was a good old
And
day.
you know, I think that's our problem, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Today, people only want to connect with you by how many freaking followers you have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I do not place any importance on people, places, or things anymore. I did the self-isolation. I did the healing of all those traumatizing wounds that not that I even lived with, because I just left them. So I had to revisit them and reseal rebandage the wounds and say, okay, you're going to heal and that's it. And I think exactly, it's whenever you feel courageous enough to just speak, anyone and everyone can be a therapist. I had one talk therapist and she threw her box of tissues at me because she was crying over my story and I was matter of fact. You know, and I don't apologize for the way that I've been since the age of 6. I don't apologize that I've been in cypher. I don't apologize that I'm not the, oh my God, woe is me. I stopped crying at 6 when I started getting molested. And I heard the sound of my cry at 52, a year and a half ago, when my mother, who I held so much resentment for my entire adult life, passed away in my care at home because I took care of her for 4 years. That was my assignment. And I heard, and then I'm like living with all this guilt and crying. And I'm like, oh my God, what is it? And it was because I never cried for my father who passed away and for my husband who passed away in the same bedroom as my mother did. So you're absolutely right. Talk, write about it, share it with the world. Who gives a shit who reads nowadays or not? Write it, because once you pen it, you know, if they say, if you think it, ink it. If you believe it, you'll achieve it. We have to start believing in ourselves, aside from the trauma, aside from everything, and just be who the hell we were born to be. With the scars, come out of that battlefield wearing those scars proudly, because you're on the other fucking side already, right?
Right. That's right. That's right.
Go ahead, keep talking. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you know, I was going to say, I was thinking, you know, about your therapist that threw the tissue box at you. That is just so fabulous that she was real. And we've been told countless times that the more real we became, the more the other human would be able to share. And when I say share, they really shared. When I used to play dress up and I first graduated and I had the dressy clothes, and all I shared was 2 things. I'm an identical twin, so you might run into me. You think who it's me, and it's not. And don't get offended if I don't say hi. And I'm a single mother of a, you know, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, whatever I said. And if he calls or the school calls, I have to answer it. You know, you could be telling me the most devastating thing and I'm going to get up. So they would know only that. And then I dressed down and I found people were saying to me, remember when I told you my dad died of a heart attack? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, that wasn't true. You know, he was in the blah, 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 and was, you know, in the federal prison for, you know, blank. So, and they were, you know, and the other thing that was extremely popular for Jane and Joan anyway, is we chose not to do drug test patients, do urine drug tests, because one of the things was,
and this is from our schooling, you know, outpatient is the lowest level of care, and you are supposed to treat them with respect and give them a, you know, if you're not going to treat them and be punitive initially. Sure, if something happens and you get notified, you can increase treatment or discharge them to more treatment. But that punitive style, as we know, does not work, because Portugal certainly doesn't treat their substance abuse population punitively
the way we do. But anyway, our clients are telling us.
Yeah.
Nobody does it the way we do, with the lack of whatever we do. Go ahead.
We come at it so many things with a punitive attitude. I mean, look at our prison system. People say that in a few hundred years we will look back and say, what? You know, people will say, what were they doing with people that committed crimes, and how barbaric it is. And that's kind of trickling into everything. I mean, when Joan and I worked in the years where it was the most rare thing, you did not sue a patient. A patient did not sue the hospital back. And, you know, it was rare. Now everyone is sue happy, and everyone has to now be protected against sue happy. So anyway, so the point is the more
I don't remember
relaxed and less judgmental and less of a separation of I'm smart and I know all the answers here and I'm so well adjusted and you're not. And it mattered not, because they just would tell you. They would tell you the sexual act they committed to get crack or whatever they were looking for. They would tell you how many abortions they had for real, not what they admit to when they go to the doctor. That's what we were most proud of. And humor is involved in that, because when you are laughing, you actually don't feel physical pain. Yes, so I imagine when you're laughing hysterically, I know for me, I am not hurting emotionally when I'm laughing like that.
It also improves your muscles on your face. You don't need a facelift.
Everything.
Just keep laughing. Yes.
All the time. I say music is life and laughter is my favorite song.
Oh, that's wonderful. If you laugh hard enough, there's something called, okay, I'm going to ruin it. It's some kind of funny laughter
It's
yoga.
laughter. It's called laughter yoga.
Thank you. Yeah. And there's a certain style of core, building your core laughing. And you know, what woman doesn't want that area being exercised in a fun way? You know, you do some sex when you're younger and, you know, up until you're, you know, older.
Why limit to younger, really?
Exactly.
One looked away and the other one said, until you're older.
I guess I meant 110. I'll stop when I'm 110.
I used to teach laughter yoga, actually. And and it's funny because it's a mixed bag with that. People get because laughter yoga is very interactive, and you have to do really silly stuff, and then you follow each other. And some people would really be into it, and other people would be really uncomfortable with it. And it was just very interesting. But
that is interesting.
But the laughter piece, though, you know, a lot of times I would tell people when I was working with clients, I mean, I still do, find anything that makes you laugh, because it like everybody's different, you know. So, and you go on a YouTube and you could find anything that is funny to you, you know, like it could be as silly as, like, one day one of my daughters put in, she's like, oh, check this out. And it was called Buttered Floor. And so people would do pranks on each other, and they would take butter and they would butter the vinyl floor in their house or their kitchen. Wow. And then they would yell to they put, like, the fire alarm would go off, and they'd be like, get out of the house. And the person would come running out of their room and slide across the floor and then, like, fall, you know. And Sadly,
Is that young people humor?
Of
I
course,
was gonna
yes.
say, and I'm
You know what?
OCD.
Older people would break a hip, right?
I would be pissed they put butter on my
Yes,
floor.
yeah. But I
So
always
would I.
like, to me, I find it humorous, unfortunately, that when people fall, like,
Oh,
when
our
they show-
father thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they show
so do we.
compilation videos, like they do compilation videos where there's just like like different ways people are falling,
Yep.
and I laugh, I laugh out loud,
Mhm.
or even people laughing, like
Mhm, mhm.
watching a group of people laughing makes me
Mhm.
laugh. And so sometimes I would just sit and watch those things to get me going.
I saw one of those.
Yeah.
I did. The girl, they must have put butter on the steps. She was climbing the steps.
Steps. I don't want people falling off steps, but
You know, and laughter is good for every occasion.
Yes.
I'm always laughing. Where I work, one of the residents tells me, "Oh my goodness, you are so loud." I said, "Am I?" He says, are you hard of hearing? No. But I'll use laughter all the time. If I'm angry with you and you're pissing me off and I want to kill you, I'll laugh.
Yes.
So laughter is also, it's like, it's healing, and it'll save your ass. Put it that way.
It
even boosts your immune system.
And if we are in a scenario where we're not friends and we're angry and something's happening and you see me laugh, please run. But that's how I used it. Laughter I love it. Like I say, I wrote about it in my book. That's one of my things. Music is life. Música es vida. And laughter is my favorite song. I keep it on replay. I'll play that bitch over and over, especially when I'm upset. I'll play it. Let's play some laughter now. And so, so that type of therapy must be fun. Have you done laughter therapy?
Oh, Jane had a client that he came in and started telling her he had this new therapy he was doing. It was so cute. It was so cute because he wasn't convincing when he was laughing, but he was trying hard.
What he did, he created this coping skill all on his own. First, he insulted me. I loved this, and I'm not going to tell you what year it was because I'm also embarrassed, and I occasionally still carry something like this. But what he said to me was, he said, "Jane, I'm really surprised at you." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Oh, yes." He said, "I can't believe you have a water bottle." And I went, because he was an environmentalist, and I like to say I am one, but remember I told you all I was a bit lazy, and yes, I cave sometimes. It's so hard. So first, because he was such an environmentalist, it was like the rest of us aren't. Okay. Anyway, he was going to move, and he wasn't going to seek therapy, and he said he had come up with this coping skill on his own, and he wanted to know what I thought of it. And it was the deepest and loudest belly laugh. And he said that he would do that. He started 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. He was building his way up to like a full 10 minutes because he heard that laughter was the best medicine.
And I guess if you laugh for 10 minutes, I believe you can go 10 minutes free of pain. So the guy who came up with it that I was reading about, he had a really painful,
not my formal
I don't
client,
know who he is, and I'm sure I'm getting the disease wrong too, but it was something painful.
Oh, right.
And he was doing some laughing shit because I was in a wheelchair for 6 months, and my wheelchair had all the pocketbooks. All the ladies put the pocketbooks on my lap, but it was on my arms too, and I was on a decline. And then the wheelchair went down the hill into a car, and my toenail was just sticking up like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, I think. So my surgeon, because he had already operated on my foot, because I cracked that in half, he told a joke. And a pliers. So somebody else, remember you said anybody could be your therapist? Well, anybody can be your surgeon that day, because he told me a joke.
That was
and
perfect,
with a pliers, a needle nose pliers, just like my father has as a carpenter.
Sterile though.
Yeah, his might have been sterile. I don't think they were. And he pulled it off because the joke was funny. But yeah, that's how he did it. the poor nurse practitioner there was pregnant, and I might have squeezed that baby out.
But you might want to make sure the MD does have some surgery experience, because the timing of the laugh of the joke,
that was bad,
and pulling not everyone could get that timing correct.
He had the delay. I had the delayed.
Yeah,
I had the delayed because I was fearful.
Yeah, that's a sign of a good surgeon right there.
He was excellent. I wish I remembered his name. I can't even promote him. Sorry, doctor.
I think the bottom line is this. I was listening when I went and brought my little one out to the bus stop, and I was listening in the back channel about because after I posed that question and you guys got going on it, I think in the end, yes, there is more to worry about, but the bottom line is there will always be something. There will always be something there, and I think our coping skills have really have been shot to shit. I think that we underestimate our resilience. We underestimate our ability to cope with things. We've because of our own personal bullshit as middle-aged adults, we have sort of put things onto our younger people, like whether our children or our grandchildren, and we've given them less ability to cope properly. And so now we set these kids up and these younger people up for not having these life skills when the world is getting crazier. And so that's why there's so many more people that are on medication. And that's the reason they cut the art and all that therapy, because it is just easier to medicate people as opposed to giving the stuff that really works. And so now it becomes up to us to have to actually take charge, which really the funny part about this is that it's always been it's always been us anyway. And so now we look to other people, but it's like now we really have to understand we have to be the one in charge. We have to figure out what works best for us. We have to know ourselves. We have to know when we do need some outside help, but then we can't just give it to them and say, fix me. We have to be the ones to step up too and say, how can I fix myself? I remember when I was going to the therapist 7 years ago, when I had hit that, it wasn't even quite 7 years ago yet, when I had hit that rock bottom place in my life, I started doing, I was about 4 months into the depression when I started, 3 months in, when I started to work with the therapist. It was right around the time I had started working with him. And that's when I became suicidal in those 3 weeks. What pissed me off was I reached out to him in a very stressful situation, and I liked the guy, but I didn't like his response at that moment. And he basically said, you need to call the hospital. I don't think I'm going to be able to help you because you're too far. You need beyond assistance what I can give you. And so I took off for a couple of weeks away from him and almost did the deed, and then came to my senses and then drove home and said, okay, I got to figure this shit out because I don't want to go there again. And I don't want to go through with this, but I came that as close as I could come. So what do I need to do? I'm going to continue working with this guy, but I got to do the shit myself. So I did. And I started to. So by the time the 5th month came in, I was of me being depressed. I was still depressed, but I was doing some of the work. And by the 6th month, it was better. And one day I walked into his office, and for all the other sessions, I just kind of sat slumped in my chair and didn't really say much and just stared, and he would talk and I would barely get an answer out. And then when I came to the conclusion that I needed to do a little work, I was doing it, but it was kind of slow. But it wasn't until the very last, it was what ended up being the last session with him at the end of my 6 months of this depressive episode. He said to me, I came in one day and I was just, all of a sudden something shifted. And I sat in the chair and I just started rambling on. And he just sat there and listened. And I said, I want this and I want that. And I don't want this and I don't want that, and blah, blah, blah. And that was the most I had talked in the 4 months or the 3 months that we were working together. And he goes, well, you're really clear on what you want and don't want in your life. And I went, oh my God, I am, for the first time in my life. And that was the last time I worked with him. I said, because I knew I got myself there. He helped, but I knew that that clarity came from me. And that's when I think I really understood my own personal resilience, the fact that I can switch myself from such a low state to flipping it completely and saying, fuck that. And then also within the next 6 months after that, bringing in humor to the situation that I had been in and looking at it going, I've got to find humor in this because that's what works best for me. I've always been a funny person. I've always liked comedy. So I got to make this funny. Like I've got to switch this and make this funny. Was it funny all the time? No, it took me another year to really go back and forth emotions, but little by little I worked on it, and then I would joke with people about, my last relationship, my ex, and I would say things like, he's really good in bed. And now I know why. He had years of practice while we were married with other women. And it's a joke, but honestly, I really think that's true. Like, I think that's why, but I have to, because when I think about the real detail of my life over the last even 25 years, 30 years of what I put up with between, significant others, friends, bosses, it would be enough to be overwhelming and be like, forget it. Fuck this. I'm just going to lay in my house and do nothing. And that's what we do. We just give up because it seems overwhelming. But when you pick it into parts and say, well, but there were parts throughout that 30 years that I did step up, and yeah, I would get knocked down and I would stay there, but I did step up. So I have it within me. And then you get to that point of saying, you know what? Fuck you for telling me or allowing, and people said things, people believed things, and I believed it. So then there was that other piece of saying, F you for telling me that I wasn't enough or making me believe that I wasn't enough. I'm the one who believed it. Nobody made me believe it, but I was in such a state of mind that I was believing it. And then finally stepping up and saying, you know what? You all have the problem. Like, I have my own problems, but for you to come at me and tell me who I need to be and who I should be, and then guilt and shame me to be that person you want me to be, F you. So I'm in charge of my sadness. I'm in charge of my happiness. I'm in charge of that. Nobody else. And then once you realize that, it makes you know that you have it within you to calm the fuck down. It makes you realize that you have all the tools. And if you don't have the tool, you could find the tool. You could learn the tool. You could ask and then do it all yourself, rather than blaming this and saying, well, this happened to me and that happened to me, and this is why I am, and that's that. And I'm done.
Absolutely.
Speaking. I just think thank you, ladies, but I think people are too sensitive. They hold on to too much shit from whatever happened to them. Yes. Then they take it out on other people who might be still trying to heal from their shit. Mm-hmm. And I think my generation, my kids, I raised them just as tough as I was raised, because I don't have time for that. And then I think their kids, they just raised them where they wanted to be their friends. They wanted to be their kids' friends. They wanted to share everything with their kids as they were with a friend. Then no wonder your kid is fucked up and emotionally drained and displeased from reality and all that. And I think when people take ownership of what they're doing and what they are transferring, because everything is energy, transferring to their children and the people around them, then they get upset when the people try to hold them accountable. And then it's a fucked up situation. You got whiners and depressed people and anxiety-ridden people. And I'm saying, put your big girl panties on, pull them bitches all the way up. And let's get to working on us, because that's all we can do. What's your take?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, we totally agree with that. Yes. Although we were very good at poor me's. But when you think about it, I wish I came up with this myself. We saw this foreign film. At the time, Gerard Depardieu, I don't know why I loved him. Maybe because of the big nose. And I
love him.
Done. Yeah, I love him.
There's something very sexy about that man.
And I can't believe you said that, because we're never attracted to the same man. So anyway, in that movie, some woman, he was a priest, I think.
No, one time we were.
And someone, and some woman, that is the secret. I tell everyone, can't you keep one thing to yourself?
Oh, that has to be enough. That just right there, you opened up another show. just for another show with us.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Okay.
did I tell you what Gerard said to the woman?
Twin
Yeah,
Tower.
we say
Okay.
yes to whatever that was. But anyway, the woman was whining and she was basically saying, but you don't understand, you know, this happened, this, and, you know, whatever. And he said, don't insult your ancestors. I keep that with me all the time because whenever I'm complaining, I think, you know, look at me. I have all these amenities around me, but my grandmother didn't. She had that bastard who we loved.
Yes.
We always loved the bastards of the family.
Our papa. When our Nani,
I feel bad for the
when
women.
when our Nani was 9 months pregnant with her 9th child, which was our father, somehow our papa kicked her right in the stomach somehow, and we don't know the.
Yeah, he was doing some yoga apparently, and he's.
Oh
Sorry.
boy.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Drink it
Papa,
already.
sorry.
I love it.
We
I love
are
it.
bearing a secret here. We apologize, but it's out now.
Listen,
Anywho.
I'm so connected right now. Go ahead. I love the.
But I wanted to give some advice. Within psychiatry, we're not supposed to have egos. So if you know, this wonderful
And yet
girl.
so many do.
Yes. Yeah.
Th-
I mean,
that's-
I definitely have it in the apartment, but because my knee is bothering me. Anytime your knees are bothering you, check your ego. Anywho, what was I saying?
And I thought it was when your ass is bothering you. that it's
Oh, so this young woman, she was going to med school and she was so depressed. And yes, of course, there were maggots in the, she grew up with a mom who was so depressed that couldn't even cook. And she kept saying, but why couldn't I learn how to be a good mother from a good mother instead of learning how to be a good mother from what the lady did? And, you know, at the time, Jane and I were very into positive affirmations and things like that. And it wasn't working for her. So when she said these positive affirmations aren't working, absolutely. I want to tell people you can, like a hairstylist, you can shop. You don't have to be faithful. You're supposed to be faithful in a relationship, but you don't have to be faithful in these other relationships. You can, if you're uncomfortable, if you want to work that shit out with that therapist, you're supposed to be able to. But if it's too uncomfortable for you and you think you're going to regress, no reason why you can't get another type of a therapist who's more lighthearted, something like that. I didn't change because at the time the university told me I had to deal with the woman. And I'm thinking, really? Like, this isn't my mother. I was just so annoyed. I think she said something like, if you weren't, maybe your marriage would have worked if you weren't hanging around video stores bumping into men, something like that.
Oh, what a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, here's
She
what
just
I
couldn't
want.
handle that you were a rebel.
I'm not really going to stick up for her.
That's fine. You could.
But what I want to say is sometimes
I stayed with her.
Sometimes if we go home hurt after what the therapist said, if you have the balls, please bring that up to the therapist, because sometimes it's not what the therapist thought they said. You know, it wasn't their intention. You may have heard something differently.
Correct.
How many times are we speaking and listening and taking things personally or making assumptions and stuff? So I loved the
Which
first
is our
time.
largest problem in life.
The first time I was a new therapist, and when the patient came in and said, Jane, I took your advice, I went, oh!
She does that.
I went like that. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm not supposed to give advice. Because I didn't think I gave advice. You know, you're supposed to sort of hint around to help people make their own decisions.
Very
you know?
Greek, like the big fat Greek wedding. You make that husband think
passive
it was all
aggressive
his
stuff.
decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
anyone can be your therapist.
Yeah.
Boom. Right.
So one time, and then, you know, so that's that in one case, but then also with colleagues, even in your own personal lives, like one time I was the therapist, the patient and I were going into the room. And at the time, my boss / mentor was right next to us. And before the patient and I went into the room, my mentor and I had a couple of words, and what my mentor said to me, that's funny, Jane. I didn't think you knew what a vacuum cleaner was. Okay.
Wow.
Right? Isn't this great? So we sit down and I have a smile on my face. And the client is like, oh my God, what a effing dick. What did you hear what he said to you? And I was like, oh, that. I said, oh, that's like an inside joke. He was not, it wasn't, at the time I had the perfect boyfriend at the time I did. And my boyfriend used to
vacuum,
clean, help. He was pretty much like, I didn't really clean. He would, because
he didn't have any brothers.
Remember, I was a single mom. My kid was young and I was overwhelmed, and he would clean my apartment.
Oh, so that's why he said that. Oh,
so when I would go in like on a Monday morning and be telling my mentor, and my best friend at the time was the office manager, how fabulous my weekend was, because not only did I have a fabulous time, my son got to see his father, and my apartment was clean. I mean, what's better than that? And you see how someone can assume, so they hear Dr. Schimmelman saying about the vacuum cleaner and me, and they think it's insulting when he and I were having like a fun moment laughing about how fun it was with my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah. I got you.
Well,
and we've learned too, though, over the years, especially as coaches, that people in general, they only hear what they're able, like they hear what they want to hear.
Right.
They receive information that they're ready to receive. And if they're in a certain state of mind, they receive information, like you said, like two people could hear the same exact thing. And because they're in two different places mentally and emotionally, one person hears it one way, another person hears it another. And then the two start talking and the other one goes, I didn't hear it that way.
Right.
How did you take it that way? And the other person's like, oh. And so that's why things have to be said more than once. And we do that here on the show. We're always repeating things because at a different moment in time you hear it differently. It's just like I love watching movies and even documentaries more than once and at different times of the year, because I will hear things differently. I will hear things that I didn't, or notice things that I didn't notice before. And sometimes I'll watch it and go, I don't remember this part at all. And I've probably watched it like 5 times from the start to the end. And I'm like, how do I have no recollection of this scene?
Because you have to go back and see where you were the first time you watched it. And that's holding yourself accountable. It's studying yourself. We're so quick observing and judging the outside of us. Oh, look at her. Oh, look, they're doing good. People are judging people on social media because they have 1.k followers, so they must be awesome.
Right.
And I think it's such bullshit. All that energy we're exerting outside of us. And the badass Buddha brought this up again, and I thought it was phenomenal because we all think it, but she said it, which then resonates back to us. Like, that's right. I saw a movie the other day too, and I was like, did I close my eyes on this one, or did I go have a cigarette while this part was playing? I don't know. And I think we need to stop when that happens. To me, that's like a message telling us to stop. Go back to think about when you first saw it. I remember shit by what I was wearing. I don't know how I remember my outfits. And maybe because my weight shifts so much in my life, I could remember what the hell I had on during certain times. And then where was I? Like, what state of mind was I in when I first watched it? Who made me watch it? Who suggested it? Why did I watch it then? Now I'm looking at it and it's like, ooh, like an orgasm, because now I get it. You know, we have to hold ourselves accountable to what we feel and what we felt as well, because that's how we pave the road to recovery. Am I correct or not?
Yes. Oh, no, you are correct. It makes me think of the time I watched a movie. And I bawled my eyes out. And then several years later, I watched the same movie and I laughed a lot. And
what movie was that?
And it was, it was about broken hearts. Say, remember that was my theme there about broken hearts and all that. The perfect guy, the this, the that. And so it was wonderful. So for me to know that I could laugh that second time, I knew I was on my road to recovery.
Yes.
Movies themselves, I even if you're really sad and you want to watch a really sad movie, it's important because you're going to notice what you're crying about or what it is that's upsetting you. I think that's great. But before anybody forgets, back in the 80s when psychiatry worked, when it was really long term and people went back to school even during this time, like they didn't just stay in a room, they lived. We went to pizza, you know, one person could just say, I'll go for pizza with you. Sure. And they left, staff and patient. Anywho, what you learned in your interview, there were 5 interviews. One, you could never take anything personally. So they would ask you, these were psychiatrists, nurse managers, nurses, and other staff members. They would say, what bothers you? And at the time it was my nose. And they said, well, that's going to be picked. You know, that's going to be, you're a hook nose, you're a parrot, you know, what's going on? Like whatever. They might go, caw, caw, which they did. And, you know, did you still want the job? And I'm thinking, I do. The benefits sounded wonderful. Anyhow, there was that. Then they said you have to lose these words. No one is to ever say, because I think one of you guys said it at one point, but you said that's like, you don't say it that way. You say it a different way. When you say you need to, people are going to take offense because they think, I guess, so what they said in the building, if you need to, you are going to get punched. They said, so if you want to get hit, tell somebody that you need to. Because these clients only entered this hospitalization after 3 other inpatient failures. So it was this magical innovation of long-term with caring staff. Isn't that amazing? That is so an outreach. I would never ever think that healthcare should be kind and give the person a long enough time to actually heal. Wow, that is something.
Because now,
maybe that'll be a specialty.
Inpatient is like a revolving door of 5 days, or what was the average? 5 to 10 days, something ridiculous.
Well, I would never think to hear someone speak positively about psychiatry work in the 80s.
I know, it was so positive.
With all the stigma I've read on it.
It was amazing back then because they even taught you, because it was in New Haven, Connecticut. They even said, you know, you're going to come out and you're going to see these people walking around too, because they're out for their AA meeting or out for Yorkside pizza, or just out on the green. And, you know, we would ask patients, you say patient when they're inpatient, clients, outpatient, whatever, customer, if you're whatever. And you would say, how do you want me to handle that? So you knew if you saw Vinny, you could say, hey, Vinny. And I could easily say, that's my cousin because I'm Italian.
And everybody, especially Vinny.
And some people would say, please, you know, make sure you pretend you don't know me. So, you know, I would just say, excuse me, and pretend I didn't know them. It was wonderful.
Pay attention to what Joan just said. So if you go for therapy, because therapists or might ask this, but they might not. If you want your therapist to ignore you because nobody knows you're going for therapy, and I mean, they could just give you a nod, like a quick hello, but somebody's family member might say, "Oh, who's that? Who's that?" You know, the jealous boyfriend is, did you fuck him? You know, who's that? So if you don't want your
no, I don't remember. It was long time ago.
Right? Yeah. If you don't want your one time, you guys, I was going out. I was younger, but my girlfriend at the time was younger than me. And because when we went to college, it wasn't, go experiment and have fun. That was more like the later 80s.
Yeah, we missed something.
So I'm out with my girlfriend, and this is her. Oh, hey, how are you? And this other guy's like, hey, you want a drink? And hey, after like the 10th, hey, how are you, for all these really nice looking guys, I'm like, how do you know all of them? And you know the answer to that. That was 80s college.
It was a fun time.
It was fun time.
Oh my God, I did so much. I have fun, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah,
we don't talk about bruising.
That's right. Certain things you don't. But I had one of those nursing jobs that was a little bit, when things were getting a little bit more short term, but not as bad as it is today. It was the late 80s, early 90s. And what was great about it was the hospital was never short staffed. I mean, they always had enough nurses to get the job done, enough secondary staff, enough social workers, enough doctors, enough everything. They had enough of everybody so people enjoyed their work, patients were well cared for, staff were well cared for, and the outcome obviously was better than when that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because you're gonna make mistakes on. Most likely, it was the 11th hour. I remember there was a study done, and that's when a nurse will make the most mistakes, because they're mandated to stay. It's really awful.
Well, years
I'm
ago,
so glad to be out of it.
Years ago, doctors had to be the night on call all night, and then not go to bed and work during the day too, right? When they were residents and making 2 cents an hour. And maybe if, anyway, those laws changed because there were a lot of studies about the 11th hour, the 23rd hour. It's just the mistakes that can be made.
In the medical field, right? Because I
Yes.
consider myself to be magically orgasmic. And magic always happens on the 11th hour when I'm cramped for time, when it's the deadline, when, oh, maron, what am I going to do? And then you're like, this ecstasy of orgasmicness goes through me. And I'm like, I got this. So I guess different strokes for whatever it is you're doing.
What they mean is the 11th hour of no sleep, and then having to like cut somebody open and be clear and sharp.
Yeah,
or
because you
diagnose
do
them and give them the right medications.
Yes, with the lack of sleep, there is a euphoric period.
Mm-hmm.
But during that period, I don't want that surgeon operating on me, because he might draw a heart in my skin rather than remove whatever cancer might have been
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The different strokes for
There you
that
go.
hour regarding the
Wonderful.
person. So yeah, they still do that. I have family that are nurses, and they're still overworked. And
I
it's high
know.
turnover at many locations, and they're
Yes.
short staffed today.
Yes.
So they are overworked.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm not medicinal. I don't go to the hospital unless I'm like bleeding
Right.
out or in severe pain.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Well, now, when it is more of a money seeking, when money's the priority, and the hospital has to put in their mission statement that the patient is important, you got to think twice here. Like, what is really important? They have to tell you. I mean, I worked for a hospital where part of your orientation was a cute little thing about how do you greet people. And I'm thinking, wow, if I don't know how to greet people because the patient's the most important thing, it's getting a little difficult here to focus on
There's
patient
no
care.
shortage of licensed caregivers. There is only a shortage of human beings willing to work in the abusive profession.
oh, I love that. I
Yes.
love
Yeah,
that.
I do
Yes.
too.
Say it again. Say it again.
Well, it used to be there are no there's no
Shortage of
shortage of
nurses,
licensed nurses.
but-
There's a shortage of nurses willing to work in the abusive profession, because you can't eat. I remember my ex-husband actually went to school to be a nurse because he wanted to be a therapist, so he became an APRN at age 50. And he finally apologized to me, because when we were married, there was a time I just couldn't go for this 12-hour shift. I swear I was like hooked onto the couch just to look like I was awake. And he's like, you got to go to work. And it was another 12-hour shift. And I said, I don't think I can do it. I'm going to have to call out. He drove me there to Hartford, to the Institute of Living Hell, I used to call it. See how negative I was. It should have been the Institute of Living. And I've got this. But back then I didn't have it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he apologized because he said, when's lunch?
Oh,
And
gosh.
how is this all my fault? I wasn't even on the unit. And it's like, well, you're licensed. So no matter what they did while you were on that fucking unit, you're the one that gets written up. So he said, gee, I'm really sorry. But, we were already divorced by then. It didn't help. I actually don't even like I'm sorry, because, with PTSD, you say you're sorry a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. You bump into somebody. Oh, I'm so sorry. Because you're traumatized.
And now someone wants you to say, I'm sorry for what you did to them.
And then she asks me to say, I'm sorry for like what? I put my glass down wrong? Or I got water in her bathroom. That's it. She doesn't like water.
No, I don't want, I'm sorry. I want changed behavior.
Yeah.
I don't want water on
That's
the
hard.
toilet seat.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
hard.
sorry is worth nothing
know.
unless there's
It's
action.
overrated,
Yeah.
overused,
It's
misused.
Yep. Yep. Unless there's action behind
Yes.
it. I am a person who is willing to say I'm sorry, but I have the backup to it. Like if I put my foot in my mouth, or if I do something that really hurts another individual,
Mhm.
I have to, number one, I take a step back and say, did I do it to be vindictive? Because I have that nature in me. When I get a little insulted, I can do that. I can be that way, which is pretty common with humans anyway. So I have to look at it and say, okay, did I say it to be an asshole, Or did I just say it because I thought it would be helpful? Okay. And then I would say, you know, I apologize. It was not my intention to hurt to hurt you. But if I do feel that what I said was worthwhile, I will back it up. But then I'll also know, okay, I just can't, you know, I'm not going to change who I am, but I'm not going to say that type of stuff to that person because they're not ready to receive it, or maybe they don't need to receive it from me. Who am I to say?
Yeah, they don't need to be around me because I'm going to be me regardless. And if what I say offends you, then you got work to do. Take that shit over there.
I don't agree with that all the time because I do say things that I mean, I'll be me.
I'm a foot in the mouth person with no filter. So I can't be so selective that I got to be walking on eggshells about who's sensitive and who's going to get offended when I'm speaking my truth. So I'd rather they stay the fuck away from me because my energy is too precious for me to be too busy on a seesaw of who's going to get offended and who's not. And the badass Buddha knows we do this. And if I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. I'm not saying I'm sorry. I'm like, I hope I didn't offend you.
Right.
But you know, what are you so offended about?
Right.
What are you holding on as triggers that you're deflecting it on me and what I said in my today because you have unresolved issues you're not dealing with. So, you know, I'll be a therapist that way free of charge. Back the fuck up. Back the fuck up because I don't have time for that. But
one of the things you said is very, very important. And it was that you're going to be you and you don't have a filter. And most people don't really have a filter. Some people have a little bit of time before they light that cannon, but most people are going to say what they want to say. And it's not my job to say, please don't say that, or I find you offensive, or gee, you hurt my feelings. My job is to process what was just said to me or about me. Then something else you said is I'm going to think, you know, does that offend me? Does it not offend me? Might I say something? Then I'm going to make a decision. Or might I leave? And maybe next time I have a different reaction or a different response. So, because I found some of the times when I was saying to Joan, whatever she said that I didn't like, and I wanted her to like own up to it and be sorry. But, you know, that's a pie in the face because one of the things I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Because one of the things I'm working on now is Joan is a passionate hand washer. And she always uses soap and water, and that's where the water flicks over on the vanity or the toilet, right? And
so very tiny,
right? And so one of the things I'm working on is being grateful for the people around me and not being upset with the way that they're a different human. And so now when I notice the water, what I'm working on is a smile that Joan is alive and in my life, rather than complaining about my identical twin sister over something as tiny as water. So it's not. So one of the things my son said to me, he said, I'm working on not pointing out to people when they're wrong, when I feel they're wrong.
That is so hard.
And that is really difficult to do, but I love challenges like that. And I said, wow, Adam, that's brilliant. And I'm going to try that myself.
Well, the question comes into play is, how do we know they are wrong? I mean, that's
exactly.
And that's what I was
who the hell are we?
My perception.
Yes. And I've learned over especially the last couple of years that when I feel like I wanna do that, I still do it, you know, and then I have to like redirect myself. And this is where sometimes that I'm sorry does come into play. It's I have to, when I feel like I want to do that and correct somebody, I have to stop and say, who is this coming? Who am I correcting them for? Am I correcting them because I really think that would be beneficial to them? Or am I correcting because I want to be the one to correct them because I don't think it's correct? And when I get into that space and identify that piece of it, I'm like, you know what? You need to shut the hell up because who the hell are you to say that? Let them do their thing. And if they ask my opinion, I would say, I actually wouldn't do it that way.
Yeah.
But what you're doing. I mean, that's, if you're going to do it that way, that's you. I mean, that's fine. That was an ego trip for me because that was
bingo
checking in with my ego to say, because I've been a teacher for years And so I'm supposed to
Oh,
know
I was going to
things.
say that, not about you, but I was going to say teachers scare me.
But there's certain ways. Let me say two things though about that.
Go ahead.
I live my life according to me. I don't make apologies for who I am. So, and the badass Buddha has been upset, and several people all my life have been upset because I don't show up at the time that is expected of me to show up. I pop up like slut magic pretty much all my life. I'm going to be 54. I love my life. I love all the roller coasters, all the trauma, all the scars, everything. And so I tell people, I'm not late. You were early and expected me to follow suit. And that's why people get upset that I'm not showing up when they felt I should have showed up. Two, I'm reading the comment about as Buddha wrote about being more compassionate is such a mindful way to be a beautiful human. But a mindfulness too is everybody's mindset is different. So when you say that, then someone like me who has no filter, not that I'm a brute speaking, because I can hold my own in the Oval Office down to the janitor's office in the basement. But it's that I don't hide behind feelings. I don't tiptoe around who I might offend or who I don't offend, because then tell me, ladies, is that me being authentic, as that word is so blissfully used? Is that me walking in my truth if I'm too busy changing like a chameleon who I am and what I'm saying depending on who I'm around? That's being mindful to other people's way, but it's not being truthful to who I was born to be, who I am. Have I learned a lot growing? Have I emerged as this beautiful fucking human being, super fucking hero that I am? Absolutely. Do I make apologies? Not at all. Not at all.
It's so important to practice at least being who you are, who you think you are. Because remember, we can change here and there, because I thought I was this and then I was a little of that, but maybe a little more of that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, one of the things that when I would get upset with Joan and Joan again, and then she about something she said, and I wish I had the example, but I don't. And I would want the apology, right? Well, Joan, who has her PTSD is just, you know, it makes me think I don't even have it sometimes with her. She's so acutely aware of certain things in her environment and unaware, excuse me, of others. But what she would point out to me was the things I did that were almost identical to what she did, but like a different scenario. Like when you say late, you showed up late because those your relatives were a little too early. Well, what if I was late getting somewhere, but my other sister was late on a bill? We're all maybe late on something. But the point of why I'm bringing up Joan and how she pointed out that I did the same thing, but in a different way. Remember, the people around you are actually almost like a mirror of a lot of you.
Yeah.
So you can pick and choose what you see in others, but know it's within you. And that's actually how I got better, was I started owning up to, I guess that is me. I guess I am this. I was hateful and jealous. Which one's worse, envy or jealousy?
Jealousy. You're really envious.
Yes, I was jealous. No, I was the worst one. I was, and I don't mean jealous. I was occasionally a jealous girlfriend, but no, I was jealous of my sisters or my friends, if I ever had one, very few, because I wanted to be anyone but myself. You know, so anyway, so what I'm
that's
saying
when you would find fault in what Joan would do. Is that what you're saying? You would, because you were trying to discover who you were and you saw that she was walking her path, that's where the jealousy stepped in? And
well, everyone loved Joan. Joan was is a natural born comedian, and I was depressed and quiet. Now, so who wants to approach a depressed, quiet child when the other one that looks just like that one is smiling and giggling and laughing and waving their hands and all of that business?
That's me,
right? Oh. But anyway, I had to own up to me. It was the only way I could get better. I don't think that's the only way to get better, because people blessed enough to be natural born comedians, they have this ability, Joan, I guess, could explain it. I don't understand it. Our father had the same thing. They are balls of love with this hard comedy, like Bill Burr, hard, you know.
Yes.
And it benefits them so well. So I'm changing my tune, because I used to go to bed, processing the day. Oh, that was a good day, or that wasn't a good day. And I would like it maybe this is how I want it to turn out. So I would start the visualization and my positive affirmations and my prayer. And you know what I hear now? Because now we're roomies. I hear nothing but laughter coming out of her bedroom. And I got to do this differently because it's much more fun. But any way you choose, you want to sometimes say, is that really the truth? Because sometimes it's not within yourself. I didn't know I was as angry as I was. I really didn't.
And I was an asshole too, though. So I want to say with PTSD, if you find yourself, or with any type of trauma, who doesn't have trauma? It's just some people had that tribe that helped them, and others, they gave, the tribe left us. So we were raising ourselves, and there's no such thing as empathy when a human being raises themselves. Like, please. Anywho, what were we talking about?
That's beautiful, and that's perfect. And I think a lot of people needed to hear that.
Yes.
Oh, good.
I
didn't even
worry
know what
about
the
empathy
point was.
when you're raising yourself.
Yes.
I'm also told by my siblings and my niece, and my kids won't dare, but they'll tell me, there you go again. You think you fucking know everything. And it's because what I'm talking about, they don't want to deal with. And it's an issue that they might have to, it's me handing out that little mustard seed without really being invasive into their life, or saying, wake the fuck up, let's make a change. Right. And so then they're like, shut up, you think you know everything. And I don't get offended anymore, because they're your siblings, they're your loved ones. You want to shake them and like, wake up. There's so much more to life than all these wheels turning, woulda, shoulda, coulda, about being stuck in what happened and not knowing what's coming. So where the fuck are you standing right now? Right. So, and when you raise yourself, when people don't understand you from a young age, you caring. I'll give the shirt off my back to somebody, but if you hurt somebody I love, I don't care who you are or how you breathe. And I've come out of that survival mode where I'm not the I'm with the bat at your front door type of person, because literally that's how I was. Now I'm like, you know what? We can't let the little things bother us anymore. So I'm on the other side of it, and I'm loving this journey. I'm loving the people that I'm journeying with. The badass Moon and I, we're different in the same, and we converse and we share and we teach one another and we learn from one another. And I think you got to find that in many different people. So I have many different outlets for that. But you just saying that right now.
Yep.
Just really, really, I felt it. You can't have empathy when you raise yourself.
Right. But I remembered what I was going to say. Sometimes with trauma, you become a victim or a bully. I was accused of being a bully with a baseball bat, actually. And, and I didn't want to look at that in between. And there was a real human being that was likable in between. Humor was my coping mechanism from when I was very young. I don't know where it came from, but I found a lot of things funny. Our Father who art in heaven, he's literally there. And so I think that if you have a really, really, really bad temper, you deserve help. If you have, if you're just a victim, I didn't mean to say the word just, because crying is so cathartic, and that helps you get better too. Because crying, I can't think of it now besides emptying your tear ducts.
Well, they say laughing and crying is the same release. So if
I laughed most of my life, but I didn't cry. So I did one of them.
Yes,
a good cry.
But you know, that in between person is always there. And I was I don't know if we shared this earlier, but I come from a Sicilian Italian mother and a Puerto Rican father, raised in the worst housing projects in Bridgeport. So survival mode was always on and popping. Standing your ground was either somebody hits you, you better fight them, or I'm gonna hit you. That was from my father who art in heaven. And so we learned the art of survival at a very young age. And it came to a point after my mom passed away that I surrendered the survival mode. I just want to live, and I want to feel, and I want to accept everything. And I don't want to be like, if somebody, you know, if you call me a bitch now, I'm not going to rip your throat out. I'm just going to blow you a kiss.
I'm going to welcome that, because
Yeah.
what is a bitch is a female dog.
That's
who's
right.
America's best friend? A dog.
Yes.
So listen how many friends we have, Jane.
I
See
know,
that?
I
You
know.
call me a bitch, that's a compliment.
And we never had a dog, but we were told, because our mom rescued a female dog who used to come over and try and babysit us sometimes. And
no one got arrested. The dog was our baby.
Well, you know, we were that like around 11ish when you can leave the kids for an hour or so, I think. Who knows?
No,
there were no seatbelts back
all
then.
day. Who we kidding?
Right.
Back then.
But it was the female dog that was more protective, we were told. So of course everybody wants the female dog.
And it's about knowing who the hell you are, knowing that we all have a dark side. But and me, I choose not to carry a patheticness. I considered my mom weak and pathetic my whole life, up until I had to take care of her until she passed away, and I got to really understand her whys. But I considered her that, you know, and so I always sought within. When her husband started molesting me at 6, well, he hit me. I told my dad. My dad beat the shit out of him so bad, he was sent to jail for 90 days. While he was in jail those 90 days, my mother's husband then started molesting me. And at 6 years old, I had the insight to understand that if I told my dad now that he was molesting me, my father's going to kill him and go to jail all his life. So I stood quiet and sacrificed from the age of 6 to 14, never letting my father know, because I know he would murder both my mom and her husband. And my mom was sleeping the whole time. And I didn't understand. And I felt so unloved and unprotected at that stage until I started fist fighting back. And I took my power back. And so the thing is, you hold on to that. The resentment that you create in a child, I never revisited as an adult until her last 6 months of life. But then you still have that chance. But what I'm saying, that to be insightful at such a young age and holding on to that and carrying it out through life, it's a beautiful thing. And I don't have time to apologize to people, because they, you know, I walk through fire. It's like we had a show that I created the title. I'm both hellfire and holy water. And I love me. I love me in all of my darkness and in all my light. And I think we should all love who we are, because we've arrived where we are today because of our strength. And
absolutely. Well, on my road to recovery, I when I say that, I had this book. Someone gave me a book called Darkness Visible by William Styron, and he wrote Sophie's Choice, that brilliant movie about World War II, and Meryl Streep was in it. And he was severely depressed himself, and he wrote this book. I never opened the book. I think intuitively, I knew that if I did, I would go deeper, because I'm just like, anyway, it was the laughter that I heard from Joan that really helped me move forward, because you can't take yourself so seriously for so long, because you are insulting your ancestors when you think about it. Who hasn't suffered trauma? I think one of us had said is, who hasn't? You know, one of the things I'm interested in watching is, there's this movie, it won Best Foreign Film. I'm going to say the name wrong. Joan might help me.
Oh, no, I'll probably say it wrong too.
It's either like Life is Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's an Italian film where
Life is Beautiful.
Right. And the father has to act
sacrifice that he made
to
for
show
his
the
son.
little boy that this isn't as bad as it is, and there's some game playing. I haven't seen it, but what I love
Never
about
seen that movie? You've never seen?
haven't. I'm going to.
Oh
son
my
got it
God!
down,
Oh my God!
Downloaded.
I haven't. Who plays
Well, why don't you
Oh my
watch
God!
it
It is
too? And I'm going to
so.
watch it, because I mean, to help change the perception of something that difficult. Because without changing your point of view, you're going to stay stuck where you are. You know, I think it was Einstein who said it, but again, once again, I sometimes misquote, that you cannot solve a problem that was created in a different point of view. Like you have to change your point of view to look at it in a different sense to now be able to get out of that burning building. So if your point of view, you're in the burning building and, oh my God, my point of view is there's fire all around me. I guess I'm dying. Change your point of view like a firefighter and say, I see light over there. I'm going to put the wet washcloth on my face. I'm going to get over there. You have to change your perception or point of view on things.
Yes. Yes.
And it's okay if you can't at first, because I think
it's a process.
It's like going on a diet
as a school teacher, though, you were telling us something and I cut you off, and I apologize for that. Because see, that's what I was thinking of the whole time. Like, oh God, because I say I'm sorry a lot. But anyway, I wanted to say something you were saying about something being positive versus negative. What I wanted to tell people, the reason I didn't get better was I kept calling myself a realist. And why would I say that my life is going well when it's not, in my view at the time? So it wasn't until a therapist said, not even in the office with me, out in the waiting room, she turned and said, Joan, you do realize that affirmations are lies at first, don't you? Because she must have seen the look on my face, total confusion. I have no idea what you're talking about, lady. And I was like, lies? Oh, no, I did not know that. And then I realized, like, concretely, because I was born with a brain tumor and then they had to operate at 6 months. And I do have a type of learning disability that nobody diagnosed, but I know I have it. I'm very concrete. So it was excellent when she told me that, because I knew I could lie to myself. I knew how to do that. I've been lying since I was a kid. Did you do that? No, fuck no. The other two did it. I didn't do it.
Oh, we gotta have you ladies back on the show. This was, I mean, we have gone 36 minutes over our time.
Oh, we apologize.
No, what are you apologizing? Why are you sorry?
No,
we would have cut you off. We would have cut you off if that was the case.
We still had 7 viewers up
want
to
to steal your time.
So this, no, let me tell you something. We started Viva to make mustard seed changes to the people who wanted to see if they could, the people who logged on, the people who shared the show for somebody who might get something out of listening to it.
Yes.
You know, and so when we have people that can have conversation like you and keep it real, because I don't like people who say one thing but they're truly something else. Like the badass Buddha knows, I despise the word I'm authentic. You know, and it's like, really, and it's used so much, you know, it's just, and some people are who use it, but it's because it's been so commercialized that it's just another word that makes some people sound smart. I just don't like it. But you know, there's people who are unaware of that, and when we bring reality like this and your perspective on life, and the badass Buddha shares hers, and let me tell you something, there's nothing to me more courageous than when you share that you had suicidal thoughts at one time in your life, but then you're on the opposite side, and what you're feeding your spirit is to help nourish the spirits of others. And I love that, and I honor that, and I tell her this all the time, because that is courageous. And I think, you know what, and I love you, when you were going out to college, sex was a beautiful thing. I've been celibate 3 years. You know, the doorknobs are looking pretty sexy to me again. So it's like, you know, who says we lived the wrong life or that we were this or we were that? Let's just live and let live and help guide one another when we stray away from the light. And that's what you brought here today. And the people loved it. And we had much comments. And we'll get in touch to have you back on the show.
We would love that. We would love that, because we both have been suicidal. Thanks for reminding us of that. And that is courageous that you've spoken of that. Thank you.
It is an honor. But
thank you.
And we talk about everything and we keep it real. And that's why we have a disclaimer. You know, she talks about that, and because that's so real, and it's becoming such a commonality among these teens right now that we got to reach out. But if you ladies have each one positive thing to end the show with, please go on.
Do you have anything?
Yes, start and you guys mentioned intentions, and intentions can be reset at any time of the day. Whenever you want it, set the intention, because I was an ungrateful, unloving, everything person. But just by saying today, for the next half an hour, I'm going to be more tolerant. Try it. It really works.
And I was a little more concrete. So to start, because I was unable to start, because I hated the self-help people's voices alone. It was like, fuck you, and I turn them off. You could go to bed at night and have it playing in the room. You take, magnesium, melatonin, whatever you're on, medical marijuana, and go to bed with those affirmations. It works. Your subconscious brain is not judgmental. It soaks in. Thank you. Don't watch the news late at night. Or
don't watch it at all. It's full of lies. The devil's a lie.
Yes.
Go ahead, brothers, Buddha.
Wonderful.
Thank you, ladies.
Ladies, thank you for coming on, and we're thrilled to have had you. And yes, we definitely want you back. So,
okay.
And thank you for everybody that stayed on long. And if you're coming on for the replay, thank you so much. There's so much phenomenal stuff from here. So have an absolutely fabulous weekend. We will go into our Thanksgiving week, continuing with gratitude and inspirational role models. So we hope to see you next week, and have a great weekend. So from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
Yes. And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.